Jordan Chariton live from New York City. Status Coup, a little after 5 o'clock on February 6th. And boy, do we have a busy one. Busy one for you. And I've certainly been busy trying to prepare for Ty and I's road trip, which we are taking this weekend. I'll tell you about that in a little bit. Let me know if you could hear me. Let me know if you could see me, and all of those very, very, very good things. Wonderful. It looks like YouTube is back to its old suppressive ways. We just passed 27,000 subscribers, and we're not even at 1 year old yet. We'll be at 1 year in March. So exciting. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for supporting. I have been working behind the scenes to try and line up interviews and people to talk to as we hit the road. We're going to go to Ohio. We're going to go to Detroit and wherever else the road takes us. This coming week, we want to cover, a mix of a lot of different things, from the layoffs at General Motors that actually are beginning, Monday. So they pledged to lay off 15,000 workers in North America around Christmas time, but the layoffs actually start next week. There's also issues with lead in Cleveland, where 17% of children have high lead levels. You don't see that on the news. Kind of a big deal. Cleveland has the highest childhood poverty in the United Corporations of America. So I think that's a big deal. So we're going to go interview folks in Cleveland. Detroit is also where some of the General Motors layoffs are happening. And Detroit also has shut down its water fountains in public schools last year because they had found high lead levels in Detroit's water fountains. So there's from lead to water to the disappearing middle class to the oligarchy. Basically, federal government gives General Motors $11.2 billion in a bailout, and then General Motors lays off 15,000 people like that. Isn't that America? Isn't that democracy? That's just the price of doing business, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about that road trip in a little bit. Remember, folks, you have a checklist. Smash the like button. Smash that like button like your life depends on it. Smash that like button like it's Donald Trump giving a State of the Union. Smash that like button like it's Nancy Pelosi telling you to eat your broccoli. Smash that like button like it's Hillary Clinton telling you Medicare for all will never, ever, ever come to pass. Smash that like button like it is the corporate media telling you Bernie Sanders might be too old to become president. And smash that like button to congratulate Apotheosis 0111, who tells us he is watching while his wife and him are celebrating their 12th year anniversary. I could think of some more exciting things you guys could be doing on your 12-year anniversary, but congratulations to you and your wife. Remember, the more people that press the like button, the more people will see the live stream. You can become a member at statuscoup.com/join. Membership is how we're going to grow long term. Membership is how we're going to fund Ty and me reporting on the road. Membership is how we're going to cover the campaign. Membership is super, super important. So keep it coming if you can. We'll talk about membership in a little bit, but definitely smash the like button. You can follow us at Status Coup on the Twitter, at Jordan Chariton, I am. Subscribe to our podcast, bit.ly/Status Coup Podcast. And join our email list. You can go to statuscoup.com. You'll get a little pop-up. Definitely join our email list. That is another way we're going to grow. We have to have a vibrant email list. We won't bother you. We won't email you 25 times a day. But once or twice a week, we give you the news, where we're going, what we're working on, all those good things. So, President Trump gave his State of the Union last night. To tell you the truth, watching Trump's State of the Union, it's still a little bit surreal, wouldn't you say? It's still a little bit surreal watching him up there. It's almost like you're watching like a Comedy Central or The Onion special, watching this buffoon as president of the United States. I mean, it's just, I still can't get over it. I still can't get over it. But I mean, I watched it. There was not anything in there. The corporate media treats it like a sporting event. Like, oh, what is he wearing? Did he score any points? Who's up, who's down, and all this stuff. I didn't find it, frankly, that interesting. However, I did find there was a bit of a 2 or 3 minute line sentence, which I think was Trump basically previewing, what he'll run on in 2020. If he's still in office, because who knows? Impeachment, resign, who knows? But it was quite telling that in one 2.5, 3 minute period, you have the Democratic Party basically cheering for the United States leading a illegal coup d'état of the Venezuelan government. So in one section, both the Democrats and Republicans cheering in unison. Hey, we're letting a fake president, an unelected fake president, take over in Venezuela, so he could then sell the oil to us, or so we could go basically steal the oil. Yay, democracy at work. So that was something. And then of course Trump pitting, our freedom is under attack from the evil boogeyman socialists like Bernard Sanders. So let's show you what I'm talking about. And remember, press the like button. Unfortunately, it seems like YouTube fluctuates as far as their suppression. Some weeks are not as bad as others. Some weeks are very bad, and this week, unfortunately, is very bad. Because it's not supposed to work this way, that as your subscribers go up, your views go down. That's not how YouTube generally works. But when your channel is on a list, basically, where, they don't notify anyone when we're live, subscribers get unsubscribed without knowing it, a whole lot of other shenanigans, videos don't even show up in subscribers' feeds, that tends to affect the view count. So definitely press the like button and share the live stream. So Jordan Speaking Truth does get our motor running. Oh, I'm glad. So here is the United Corporations of America, both sides of the aisle, cheering our illegal coup in Venezuela. Hold on.
The legitimate government of Venezuela and its new president, Juan Guaido. President Juan Guaido. Juan government of Venezuela officially recognized the legitimate government of Venezuela and its new president, Juan Guaido. We stand with the Venezuelan people in their noble quest for freedom, and we condemn the brutality of the Maduro regime, whose socialist policies have turned that nation from being the wealthiest in South America into a state of abject poverty and despair.
So before we continue this farce, did you notice Nancy Pelosi clapping it up, Nancy Pelosi, for our legal coup d'état of Venezuela? I mean, you can't make this stuff up. This is the Democrats. This is the Democratic Party we have. Nancy Pelosi just sitting there, yay, yay. And, United States inserting a puppet leader who's going to sell off all of Venezuela's assets to Citgo and us. I mean, it's unbelievable. You have Kirsten Gillibrand running for president. Wonderful. I couldn't see the rest of the presidential candidates, but I believe Elizabeth Warren also was clapping for that. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. The sheer arrogance, immorality, because more people are going to die in Venezuela because of what we're doing than if Maduro is left in power. That's just a fact. But it's also interesting because they're talking about this guy, Juan Guaido, like he's some freedom fighter. This is Juan Guaido in 2010 with a bunch of quote unquote protesters who were literally trained by the United States. He went to a meeting with these protesters who were trained by the United States to topple former Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. This is Juan Guaido.
Aquí seguimos, 9-5 horas, aquí seguimos. Francisco de Miranda, full de gente. Aquí seguimos, 9-5 horas, aquí seguimos. Francisco de Miranda, full de gente. Aquí seguimos, 9-5 horas, aquí seguimos. Francisco de Miranda, full de gente. Vemos hacia abajo, hacia la autopista, también mucha gente resistiendo. Recuerdo que en el 2007 gritamos estudiantes, hoy estamos en resistencia, nuestra resistencia. Vamos que sí se puede.
So there he is at a protest. I believe that was in, 2014. 2014. But if you read about it, he, along with other protesters, were basically trained by the United States. They were trained by the United States to basically on how to protest, on how to, topple Chavez. Let me find it here. Training. Yeah, more than a decade before these intrigues, a group of right-wing opposition students were hand-selected and groomed by an elite U.S.-funded regime change training academy to topple Venezuela's government and restore the neoliberal order. So right there, this guy who Nancy Pelosi's clapping for and all these people are clapping for, Juan Guaido, is literally a puppet of the United States of America. And Trump is talking about, freedom for Venezuela. We care so much about freedom for Venezuela. No, you don't. You care about Venezuela's oil. It's unbelievable. And by the way, he is part of an extreme right-wing opposition that has already said they're going to sell off Venezuela's public assets, essentially, to the United States. Here we go. The right-wing opposition leader that the United States is trying to undemocratically install as Venezuela's president immediately set his sights on the country's state-owned oil company, which he is hoping to restructure and move towards privatization. He is also seeking money from the notorious International Monetary Fund to fund his unelected government. On January 23rd, President Trump recognized the little-known U.S.-educated opposition politician Juan Guaido as the supposed interim president of Venezuela. Within 48 hours, Guaido quickly tried to seize control of Venezuela's major U.S.-based oil refiner and use its revenue to help bankroll his U.S.-backed coup regime. Guaido is attempting to fire the directors of Citgo Petroleum, which is owned by Venezuela's state oil company PDVSA, and seek to appoint his own new board. Reuters described Citgo as, quote, Venezuela's most important foreign asset. Bloomberg calls it the crown jewel of PDVSA's assets. Citgo is the largest purchaser of Venezuelan oil, although crippling sanctions imposed by the Trump administration have prevented the company from sending revenue to Venezuela, starving the government of funding. Citing U.S. officials, the Washington Post reported that the Trump administration's strategy, quote, is to use the newly declared interim government as a tool to deny Maduro the oil revenue for the U.S. that provides Venezuela virtually all its incoming cash. Oh, so we're basically trying to privatize Venezuela's national oil system, and then Trump has the temerity to talk about Venezuela's abject poverty that we are helping to keep in place.
Condemn the brutality of the Maduro regime, whose socialist policies have turned that nation from being the wealthiest in South America into a state of abject poverty and despair.
There's Nancy clapping away again. Clapping away at this bullshit. And again, thank you, Matty Perry, $1.99 in the super chat. You know, what's up with the women in the white suits? I don't understand why they wore white suits, to tell you the truth. I don't mean that sarcastically, I just don't know. But I liked seeing so many women in Congress. I think that was a great thing, but I don't know what the white suits were about. So let's get this straight. Venezuela was once a very rich country, but the United States, it's not just the United States. The Maduro government has done things that have not been great economically. However, they have also redistributed a lot of wealth, helped educate people that were not educated, and helped stop massive poverty. Things have gotten very bad because the United States has had crippling sanctions in place that is stopping the flow of revenue to the Venezuelan government. It's stopping life-saving medicine, stopping businesses from taking out foreign loans, many things. So, it's kind of like an arsonist who's burning down a fire, then who's burning down a house, and while the house burns on fire, the arsonist is saying, what irresponsible homeowners. Oh, thank you, because suffragettes wore white when they wanted women to vote. I should have known that. Thank you, glowing me. So this is the United States as arsonists burning down Venezuela and then sitting there saying, these irresponsible homeowners who left the gas on. It's disgusting. Absolutely shameful. And remember, folks, I need you to press that like button. We got 118 people watching, only 64 likes. So I need at least 60 more likes. That's how the viewership goes up. We are being suppressed here on YouTube. For whatever reason, YouTube's algorithm, the more people that like the live stream, the more people that aren't currently watching see it in their feeds. So please press the like button, even if you dislike me. I'll take your like. Just like the stream. Pretty please, pretty please, pretty please. So we're cheering on, Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party is, just like they cheered on Iraq, just like they have no problem with indefinite war in Afghanistan. Let's be in Syria, let's be in Yemen, let's be in Pakistan, let's be in Somalia. I mean, name your Middle Eastern country. We're there. We're bombing. So Democratic Party has no problem with endless war. Democratic Party has no problem with illegal regime change. Democratic Party is attacking Tulsi Gabbard because she's the only one with the integrity against this illegal regime change. Frankly, I still haven't heard anything from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Venezuela. Have you? I saw that she retweeted Ro Khanna couple like 2 weeks ago. I haven't heard her take a stand. I've heard Ilhan Omar, is that her name? The Minnesota Congresswoman? Let me make sure I have her name right. Omar. Yeah, Ilhan Omar. She's taken a stand against this illegal regime change. Because, Trump, law and order, law and order, law and order. He don't give a damn about law and order. He cares about oil and order. Oil and order. That should be Trump's slogan for 2020. It's disgusting. So let's continue. First, Nancy Pelosi and all them cheered on for regime change in Venezuela. Let's see what they have to say on socialism.
Here in the United States, we are alarmed by the new calls to adopt socialism in our country.
Boo!
America was founded on liberty and independence and not government coercion, domination, and control. We are born free and we will stay free. Tonight, we renew our resolve.
You ever notice at these things they like start cheering USA, USA? It's like a like a high testosterone high school football locker room. USA, USA, USA. It's ridiculous. And by the way, in that clip, it didn't show you, but there were a lot of Democrats actually standing and cheering Trump, railing against the evil socialist army. Evil socialist army. And the threat of socialism, the threat of, more money for the worker bees. Such a threat, these socialists. And by the way, Bernie Sanders, obviously you saw, didn't exactly, stand up saluting that. He did his own response to Trump's State of the Union. And I'm looking right now. What did Bernie Sanders get? Bernie, where's your video, Bernie? Here we are. Wow. 500,000 views. Not too shabby. This man got 500,000 views in less than 24 hours for his response. Let's praise some of his response.
But for the middle class and for the working families of our country, 200 since he has taken office. But I hate to say this, but not, and I'm not going to go on for too long. And let me also just congratulate Stacey Abrams for her very, very effective response to President Trump's State of the Union. Now we, I think, all know why she would have been a wonderful governor of Georgia. I know that this will probably not shock you. But I hate to say this, but not everything Donald Trump said tonight was true or accurate. Tonight, when we talk about the economy, tonight and on numerous occasions since he has taken office, President Trump has told the American people that the U.S. economy is the hottest economy anywhere in the world, that it is really booming. Well, that may be true for the members of his Mar-a-Lago country club, where the price of admission has doubled to $200,000. For those folks who go to Trump's club, and for the wealthiest people in our nation, Trump is right. The economy is really booming. In fact, for many of President Trump's billionaire friends, the truth is they have never, ever had it so good. But for the middle class and for the working families of our country, the truth is that the economy is not so great. Over the last year, for example, real inflation accounted for wages for the average American worker is up by all of 1.2%, just $9.11 a week. In fact, real wages for that same worker, that average American worker, are lower today than they were in 1973. Let me repeat that. The average American worker, after adjusting for inflation, is earning less today than he or she did 46 years ago, despite huge increases in productivity.
So there you have Bernie dropping some facts. But you know what's interesting to me? And excuse me while the screen goes black for a minute. I just got to add in this chart here. Gotta love the broadcast live. So, Trump and actually a lot of Democrats, you saw John Tester was up there chanting against socialism, and there were quite a few Democrats chanting against socialism too. And Nancy Pelosi wanted to stand up and chant against socialism. Remember she said, I'm a capitalist. We're capitalists. That's it. What can I tell you? We're capitalists. She infamously said. But recent Gallup poll shows that actually more people in America have a favorable view of socialism than capitalism, and by a lot. 2018, positive view of capitalism, 47%. Positive view of socialism, 57%. That 47% number is kind of comical when you remember Mitt Romney? Well, 47% of people in America, just want free stuff. Or whatever the hell he said. I don't even remember. So Bernie Sanders, this evil threat of the socialist boogeyman. The evil looming threat of the socialist boogeyman who's going to, come while you're sleeping and take all your money, and he's going to give it to the homeless people if you're wealthy. Well, apparently 57% of Americans are kind of into that. And look at the change. I mean, 2010, it was even, but it's gone down. It's gone up, and then it's gone down 9 points in 2 years. Well, what happened in those 2 years? Bernie Sanders awoke a hell of a lot of people as to what socialism really is, which is kind of just, doing the government representing working people, investing in working people. That's actually what socialism means, democratic socialism. The capitalism has gone down by 9 points. And that's what Trump and that's what a lot of Democrats and Republicans were cheering about yesterday in their jingoistic. So to them, freedom means illegally toppling a democratically elected government in Venezuela and stealing their oil. That's freedom. But to them, tyranny is socialism. What the majority of Americans want. 70% want Medicare for all. 60% free public college. 58% $15 minimum wage. 72% expand Social Security. 57% break up the big banks. 64% legalize weed. 65% jobs guarantee. Not on this list. 81% Green New Deal. Thank you, Shane Batka, $4.99. In the super chat. Do you think the coup in Venezuela is also a way to put stoke of fear into people about socialism? Kind of a Red Scare 2.0. Do I think? Of course it is. They have nothing else. Look at the polls. People want socialism. And by the way, the reason they keep using the word socialism is because it has a negative connotation, but it's not even full socialism, what Bernie Sanders is talking about. He's not saying get rid of, private enterprise, get rid of private companies. No. He's saying the government needs to redistribute the money from the top, which it already has been redistributed. We already live in a socialist country. It's a socialist country for the rich. Who do you think is paying for those tax cuts for Trump's donors and yacht owners? Us. Because they're cutting programs for workers. They're cutting programs for seniors. They're cutting programs for students. They're cutting programs for average people and the most vulnerable so that they could basically give giant tax cuts, deregulation, and subsidies to rich people and companies. I mean, look at General Motors. I'm about to tell you, we're going on the road to cover the General Motors layoffs. They got $11.2 billion bailout money. $11.2 billion and a bailout from the federal government to General Motors. They just laid off 15,000 people in one foul swoop. Well, is that capital? Is that freedom? Because the General Motors executives, they basically got free money that they never fully paid back, by the way. $11.2 billion. So that free money was just given to General Motors. And now they're profiting. They're profiting like they've always. And who's suffering? The workers. So I don't want to hear Trump and these Democrats clapping like John Tester. There were other Democrats clapping too. They believe in socialism just for wealthy donors from Wall Street, Big Pharma, fossil fuels, real estate developers, and Silicon Valley. And this Fox News This Fox News segment was particularly humorous. Fox News can't believe its own poll on socialism.
What seems to be a movement against capitalism in this country. This is a piece in Politico just published, Soak the Rich. Americans say, go for it. In this piece, it talks about how recent polling is showing that the American public is increasingly on board with raising taxes on the rich. As evidence, we pulled up this latest Fox News poll on the issue, whether Americans support raising taxes on the wealthy, on incomes over $10 million. Those that are in favor of that, 70%, Charles. Over $1 million in income, 65%.
The idea of fairness has been promoted in our schools for a long time. And we're starting to see kids who grow up in this notion that fairness above all. And now they're becoming voting age, and they're bringing this ideology with them.
Oh, God. That's so funny. Oh, my God. They're teaching these kids in school about fairness. We really need to talk to these teachers about what they're what are they teaching these kids in school? Fairness? Sorry. I don't really play Fox News that much, but it kind of gives me a chuckle sometimes. So, first of all, they're not teaching fairness in schools. I went to school, I was in college, 10 years ago I graduated college. They weren't teaching about socialism or fairness in college. I didn't learn about socialism or fairness in high school or elementary school. You don't learn anything in school. Well, in my case, not much. But no, you know where they're learning about fairness? You know where people are learning about fairness? Or more importantly, corruption and oligarchy and greed and immorality? Frankly, from Bernie Sanders, independent media, if I do say so myself, Fight for 15, Medicare for All activists, Green New Deal activists, water protectors in Standing Rock, activists in Flint, and the real freedom fighters, Black Lives Matter. I mean, the list goes on. But it's so funny because the elite that own our media, all wealthy people, predominantly white, to them, this is not fair. Thank you, Jay. $2 in the super chat. Reminder, this is a super chat, so if you're feeling super, let me know. We prefer GoFundMe, but we do accept super chat. And by the way, Ty and I are hitting the road again this weekend. You got our back? GoFundMe. Where are we at in the GoFundMe right now? $41,666,000. On this road trip, I have an ambitious goal for this road trip. A very ambitious goal for this road trip. I don't know if it's going to happen, but sometimes you got to dream big. I would like to hit $50,000 on this road trip. I'm going to tell you about the road trip in a little bit. So, can we get to 42,000 today? I think we can do it. I know a lot of people are tapped out. I know a lot of people have donated and donated and donated. I got more packages to go out this week, by the way, I'm mailing out for our GoFundMe donors. Reminder, $100 GoFundMe contribution gets you a Status Coup hat or shirt. $127 gets you both. $200 will get you the white swag bag. $250, that backpack. And for higher donors, we're going to sprinkle in some other gifts. You got the pens, the water bottles, all that good stuff. So you are donating, but you're also getting a couple things too. So I want to hit 50,000 on this road trip. It's going to take an army to do it. I think we can do it. GoFundMe is preferred over Super Chat. And we're not just telling you what we're going to do. We're showing you. This is our third or fourth reporting trip that we're going on based on GoFundMe donations. And we're trying to use GoFundMe donations for advertising so we could get around this suppression, some marketing, and other things that we need. So keep it coming. But what's so amazing about all this 40 grand is enough to go now. You're damn right, Invictus. It's enough. That's why we're going. But we got to raise more than that because we got a campaign to cover. And campaigns cost a shit ton of money, Invictus. A shit ton of money. A campaign to cover the full thing can cost probably $100,000 to $200,000. You're talking cross country multiple times, food, equipment needs, hotels, rent-a-cars. It's a lot of money. A lot of money. So, what's so amazing about this is, this hypocrisy, this sheer hypocrisy of the oligarchy railing about socialism. Well, your vote, you are supposed to be representing American citizens who elect you into office. So, how is it that you're supposed to be representing American citizens, yet all the polls you're ignoring? Because all the polls are telling you American citizens want these quote-unquote socialist policies, which are not even full socialism, by the way.
I wanted to ask Congressman Gabbard, you brought a very...
They're not even full socialism, these policies. It's just fairness. It's just egalitarian. It's just anti-greed. And by the way, the millionaires will make, and the billionaires will make a lot of money still if these policies go into place. It's not like you're saying, let's get rid of Goldman Sachs, let's get rid of ExxonMobil, let's get rid of, well, I'd like to get rid of, Big Pharma. That's not what Bernie Sanders is even saying. Yes, Eric, $250,000 easy to cover a campaign. The right way, absolutely. It costs a lot of money, so that's why we're pushing the GoFundMe. So I'm glad Trump is coming up with this socialism argument. It's good for his base, but it's not good for his reelection chances because there's a whole lot more people that are down with the socialism. And if he runs against Bernie Sanders, I would think you might be looking at one of the biggest electoral landslides in American history if it's Bernie Sanders versus Donald Trump. Mark my words. So before I get to the next topic, I want to give you a little preview here. Status Coup, on the road, hitting the road. There's fancy graphic that Colin made. So we're going to head to Detroit. There, General Motors has laid off a lot of people. So layoffs actually start next week. There are hundreds of people that are transferring, but it's not like they're transferring because they want to. A lot of these people, based on a conversation, a lot of these General Motors workers that I spoke with are literally given 7 days to decide if they want to transfer to another state. So a lot of these husbands, a lot of these wives, whoever are the General Motors workers, are literally leaving their spouses and their children to go move to another state within 7 days to continue working, to keep their benefits. This is the United Corporations of America, folks. This is the United Corporations of America. As I put the GoFundMe link right there in the super chat once again. There's also a lead crisis in Detroit. A water crisis in Detroit. They shut down all public water fountains in public schools last year. And so far, from activists I've spoken with, nothing's being done. So, yes, we know about Flint, which I've covered quite a bit. But Detroit, just an hour north of Flint, has its own water problems. And Detroit is, other than Flint, the highest poverty in the United States of America. Detroit, which used to be the engine, literally, the engine of the middle class. Used to be where cars. Flint and Detroit. Failed state, REC says. I agree. So we're going to cover the water shutoffs there, which, have you seen that on MSNBC? Is Rachel Maddow screaming about Vladimir Putin contaminating the water supply in Detroit? Cleveland also has a lead crisis, which we're going to cover. 17% of children in Cleveland have been found with high lead levels. So this is catastrophe all around, from the General Motors layoffs in Ohio and Detroit and Warren, Michigan. There's also it also hit Canada too. And what are they doing after getting $11.2 billion in a bailout from the federal government? General Motors laying off their workers. They say it's because automation is coming and people aren't buying the same cars they used to, and we got to build electric cars and automotive cars. they're saying those things, but odd that they want to build those plants in Mexico and China. Isn't it? You know, companies like General Motors get free money from the government, 11.2 billion's worth, and then with no strings attached, by the way, and then they could just basically sack their workers and continue making unprecedented levels of profit. This is the United Corporations of America, folks. This is the United Corporations of America. And as always, who knows? Maybe we'll, drive to Detroit, Cleveland, Lordstown, and maybe we'll get inspiration to go cover something else on the road. We're wide open, Ty and I. He's got a bad neck problem. I got a bad back. But together, we have a good heart and determination. But we need your help, frankly. We need your help. So we really, really appreciate GoFundMe. We're going to try to push our GoFundMe very, very strongly, both before we go as well as while we're there. Thank you. Kelly just donated another $10. Kelly is the GoFundMe whisperer. It's almost like every day, either $5 or $10. I can't thank you guys enough. And by the way, that urgency, why we're trying to push and get to 50,000 on that GoFundMe, why we're trying to do it is because there's a campaign starting. And we currently do not have the money to cover a full campaign. We don't even have the money to cover a quarter of a campaign right now. So we need more funds, and I'd rather go to you, the audience, than beg oligarchs, Democratic Party and Republican Party donors, and the very interests that are destroying this country. Not going to do it. So I hope whether it's $5, $10, $20, obviously wouldn't stop you from higher amounts. Keep it coming in that GoFundMe. We're really, really pushing hard. Obviously, first we got to get to 40,000, and then we'll set our eyes on 45,000, and then 50,000. We'll probably be on the road for about a week, maybe longer, and try to get that to that 50,000 amount. And of course, it's not just GoFundMe. How we grow long term. Here's our other map, our other graphic, is statuscoup.com/join. Consider becoming a member. You can become a member as low as $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, or $147 a year. And this is how we grow long term. So we're doing it two ways, getting funding in the short term to cover things coming up, but also membership is how we grow long term. And by the way, if we're keeping it real, folks, you see anyone else covering these stories? I'm not saying this arrogantly. I'm literally asking you, do you guys know of any other outlets on the road covering these stories? I don't. I know there's some independent outlets out there that call themselves progressive, that ask you for money. But as far as I know, the biggest road trip they're taking is to the studio to tell you about how Donald Trump's tweets and Vladimir Putin is the most threatening thing to your livelihood and very democracy. So I do know of some outlets that are asking you to sign up, as members or whatever, that promise a lot of things but don't actually provide most of it. So we're putting our money where our mouth is, literally. We're hitting the road. Ty and I are driving for 10.5 hours from New York to Detroit. But you can, help us. And it's not charity. You are signing up as a member both to get bonus content, behind the scenes videos. We're going to have a lot of behind the scenes videos while we're on the road this time, just for members, but also so you could support real independent media that gets out there and covers the disappearing middle class, environmental genocide, corruption, police brutality, economic destruction, and the silent victims of American empire and oligarchy, which are the American citizens. Because this is not the United States of America. This is the United Corporations of America, folks. It's that simple. So I'll keep hitting you over the head to sign up as a member. There it is in the super chat. Statuscoup.com/join. Obviously, if you're struggling to put food on the table, if you're struggling to pay your rent, we understand if you can't become an answer. But we definitely want support. And by the way, for those of you, I didn't say TYT. I didn't talk about the Young Turks. I just said there's some outlets out there that don't cover these important stories. You guys are saying which outlets, not me. You know what I'm saying? Some people are struggling to put food on their family. I agree, Darius. That's why I just said, if that's the case, don't fund us. We don't want to make anyone's situation worse. But for those of you who do have extra funds, what do you want to spend it on? You want to go get a latte at Starbucks or have real journalists in the field waking more people up to what's actually going on? Statuscoup.com/join. Think about what you spend $5 on a day. Think about what you spend $10 on a week. Think about what you spend $20 on a month. Think about what you spend $147 on a year. Because I think our journalism is worth more than all of that. Thank you, Carne Verde, $20 in the super chat. Please destroy the U.S., but remember to wear your seatbelts. Well, I don't want to destroy the U.S. I'm hoping we could help create change in the U.S., but we will wear our seatbelts. And no problem. Feel free to leave money in the super chat. We do prefer GoFundMe because GoFundMe super chat takes YouTube takes 30%. 30% of our super chat funds. Darius, can we use Patreon? We are pushing people, if they are not signed up yet to anything, we are pushing people to become members at our website. That's statuscoup.com/join rather than Patreon. If you're already a patron, you could stay a patron. We're posting the same content for members that we are patrons. However, Patreon takes a larger percentage than our website processor. And also, we don't like that Patreon is now deplatforming. Door is wrong, unfortunately. I told Jimmy he was wrong about that. YouTube takes 30% of the super chat. That's just a fact. Look it up. So we prefer people signing up as new members because we don't like that Patreon is deplatforming people. But more importantly, we don't want to be reliant on Patreon or third-party platforms. Patreon can go away in 2 years. Patreon could totally change and not be a platform we want to be on. So we want to have our paid members through our website, which we control. And thank you. We got $27 from Corey in our GoFundMe. Then 20 from Nicole. So now we're at 41,723. Can we get to 42,000 by the end of this live stream? I think we can. But I'm super excited about this road trip. We haven't been in the field for a while. I hope Ty makes it because he's definitely struggling with his neck, but he assured me he could do it and wants to do it. So we will have a great time and keep it coming if you can. If it comes off like I'm begging for funds, it's because I'm begging for funds. But you got to own it. I'd rather own that I'm begging for funds than go and beg bankers and plutocrats. The key to begging is to own it and to have no shame. So, wanted to move on to the continuing McCarthyism and downright propaganda against Tulsi Gabbard. Here is Tulsi Gabbard on Morning Joe. These wonderful people at Morning Joe this morning.
Very interesting guest.
David.
I wanted to ask Congressman Gabbard, you brought a very interesting guest last night to the State of the Union.
Yes.
A prominent Syrian politician who's part of the group we've been allying with in northeast Syria that's been keeping the peace there. And I'm wondering what you told this Syrian politician about what's ahead for them as the American troops begin to pull out. Are they at risk of being slaughtered in those areas, and what should we do about it?
Well, I think more importantly, I heard from her their concerns about Turkey's threats, knowing that if there is a pullout of U.S. troops overnight and it's too hasty, then the Kurds, who have been our most effective fighting force against ISIS in Syria, will be left to Turkey's slaughter. She referred to what has already happened in places like Afrin in Syria to know what would lie ahead if there is not an opportunity for the Kurds in the northern part of Syria to broker some form of security agreement that will allow them to, frankly, protect their homes and protect their families going forward. She also said, we never expected the United States to keep soldiers there forever. They always knew it would be a temporary situation focused on fighting against ISIS. All she's saying is give us the space to be able to make sure that we are able to secure ourselves before the United States pulls out all of our troops.
Did she ask you why you met with Assad?
No, she didn't. But we had a discussion about that, and she recognized why I met with him and agreed with that meeting, because she knows how important it is that we be willing to meet with adversaries or potential adversaries, not just our friends.
Do you think Assad is our
We're
enemy?
serious about the pursuit of peace.
Do you think Assad is our enemy?
Assad is not the enemy of the United States because
Did you see the sheer condescension and just animosity in this quote unquote reporter's question? Did she ask you why you met with Assad?
the Syria pose a direct threat to the United States.
What do you say to Democratic voters who watched you go over there, and what do you say to military members who have been deployed repeatedly in Syria, pushing back against Assad?
People who have been deployed to Syria have been there focused on their mission, which has been to defeat ISIS. Our troops have not gone to Syria to wage yet another costly, destructive regime change war. And many troops I hear from express frustration at the fact that our country continues to wage senseless, costly regime change wars, followed by nation-building missions, leading to situations like we see in Afghanistan. So many examples of our troops being deployed, their lives put on the line, without understanding what the clear mission or objective is and how that mission actually serves the security of the American people in the United States.
What's so funny? Did you see all of them looking at her? Wait, can I find that again? Hold on. Oh, their animosity. Look at them. They can't take it. Who is this? Who is this woman talking about regime change and challenging our empire? How dare she?
Mission actually serves the security of the American people in the United States.
Which I think a lot of Americans would agree with you there. But again, going back to Assad, Assad is not an enemy. Is he an adversary of the United States?
We have to look to who poses a threat to the United States and the
No,
American
I understand that, but there are a lot of people who don't pose a direct military threat to the United States who consider themselves to be adversaries of the United States. Vladimir Putin poses or considers America to be an enemy. We consider Russia to be an adversary. I'm just asking you, do you consider Assad to be an adversary of the United States?
When I look at whether it's Syria or Turkey or Russia or China or other countries in the world, I look at what are their interests and are their interests counter to our interests.
So what would you say he is to the United States? If you cannot say that he's an adversary or an enemy, what is Assad to the U.S.? What?
I'll play the rest of the clip. I'll play the rest of the clip. But you know what this reminds me of? You know what this reminds me of? When I was in college, right? I was dating somebody, and I was kind of on the fence a little bit. I was kind of on the fence. I did love her, but I didn't know if I was like in love. Have you ever had that where you like love somebody and you're attracted to them? But like, are you in love? Do you even know what in love means? But I want to be with the person. I just don't know if I'm in love. But she said to me like, well, do you love me? Are you in love with me, or do you love me? Do you love me, or are you in love with me? As I grew, I understand the difference. But this is like, they're trying to get her to be so declarative and pledge your allegiance to the United Empire of America, or the United States of Empire. And they're trying to get her so strongly. You can't be a part of that club if you don't pledge to want to, be at 20 different wars at one time and dip our toe into every other country known to man. And Tulsi Gabbard, they can't stand nuance. They can't stand diplomacy. They can't stand not declaring every foreign, they can't stand not declaring every untoward or foreign leader that's terrible or brutal our enemy. Well, I've never heard any of them challenging any politician on their show to say, do you consider Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia our enemy? Or the King of Jordan our enemy? Or frankly, Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel our enemy? In some of the right-wing dictator authoritarian things he's been doing? Can't stand it.
What is the word?
You can describe it however you want to describe it.
I want to know how you describe
my
it.
point is that whether it is Syria or any of these other countries, we need to look at how their interests are counter to or aligned with ours.
Are interests aligned with ours?
What are Assad's interests?
Assad seems interested in the slaughter primarily of his own people, in part. I mean, how does that line up? Survival, yes.
Exactly.
And he seems to be willing to go to great ends to do that.
He also uses weapons of mass destruction on
Adversary.
As well.
We can talk about all these things. My point here is...
Is it important to talk about these things?
It's
that he uses chemical weapons on his own people?
Of course. It's important to talk about how our military is being used, what it is costing them, what it is costing the American people, and whether or not those missions, those objectives serve the security of the United States and the American people.
I want to ask you just...
Oh, God, brutal. Brutal. I mean, if you don't go along with their line, forget it. And then, I had a little, I don't think she responded to me, but I had a little tweet, because Casey Hunt, who was that smug, quote-unquote, reporter out there, saying, did your guest ask you why you went to meet with President Bashar al-Assad? She's up there saying, here's NBC News' excellent reporting on the Russian machine that now appears to be boosting Tulsi Gabbard. She's referencing the totally ridiculous NBC News story that essentially says that RT America and Sputnik has done a bunch of stories on Tulsi Gabbard. So that means that Russia is working to get Tulsi Gabbard elected. They also used research from New Knowledge, the cybersecurity firm that literally has been kicked off Facebook. Its founder has been kicked off Facebook because they were caught meddling, love that word, meddling in the Alabama Senate election. So NBC News, this is totally crazy. And here's a link, by the way, if you want to read this story, if you don't know what I'm talking about. Glenn Greenwald did some great work exposing this. But NBC News literally wrote a report claiming Russia supports Tulsi Gabbard, relying on a firm just caught fabricating Russia data for the Democratic Party. Like, you can't make this up. And you have that idiot, Casey Hunt, challenging Tulsi Gabbard, who, by the way, in the past has called Bashar al-Assad a brutal dictator. She has called him a brutal dictator. But you know what? The United States is in bed with a hell of a lot of brutal dictators. The brutal dictators we like are the ones that will give us their oil, give us their natural resources. The brutal dictators we do not like are those who won't and are compete with our business interests. That's the difference. Pro-brutal dictator that gives us the oil and their natural resources and is good for American business. Anti-brutal dictator who's not. All brutal dictators. I mean, I think Assad is a brutal dictator. But why is it that we're so upset about Assad, not Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who's responsible for a genocide in Yemen? Tens of thousands of people dying in Yemen. We're cool with that. The only reason we weren't cool with that is not because of what he's doing in Yemen, but because an elite Washington Post journalist was executed by the Crown Prince. Before that, not a peep about the genocide going on in Yemen. Cognitive dissonance is right, Victoria. You are right on the money. Thank you, Patrick Coyne, $22 in the GoFundMe. We're now at $41,755. So our goal for the end, to get to the end of this reporting trip, is $50,000. I don't know if we're going to do it, but you got to dream big, baby. You got to dream big. So we're at $41,755. Would like to get to $42,000 by the end of today. So we got 245 buckos to go. Thank you. Keep it coming in the GoFundMe. So, it's truly remarkable because as I tweeted, let me find my own tweet. I haven't been on the last few days. Let me find my own tweet. Do 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 Here we go. So CNN does a story, showing this little diagram or pentagon or square. I don't know. What shape is that? A pentagon? I wasn't good in that class. So do you notice they have a bunch of candidates who haven't even announced yet? Love Bernie, but hasn't even announced. Beto O'Rourke hasn't announced, even though him and Oprah were playing patty cake yesterday in an interview. Joe Biden hasn't announced. Bloomberg hasn't announced. Amy Klobuchar hasn't announced. Elizabeth Warren hasn't formally announced. Sherrod Brown hasn't formally announced. So they got all of these quote-unquote 2020 candidates. Who's missing there? I mean, if this isn't what Noam Chomsky talks about, manufacturing consent. Or in this case, manufacturing disconsent. You don't have to like Tulsi Gabbard, but she's a declared candidate. She's a congresswoman of the United States. And you don't? She's not included? What is this that they like to say? Picking winners and losers? I mean, it's disgusting. It's disgusting what they're doing. Hey, if you want to have an actual debate as a media outlet on regime change, on whether the United States should be getting involved with all these other countries and trying to topple dictators and all this stuff, great. Let's have that debate. I think it's a good debate to have. But when you have this smorgasbord of overpaid, elite, cocktail crowd idiots on the panel of Morning Joe trying to gang up on a congresswoman who's had the bravery, the courage to say, you know what? I'm going to go talk to President Bashar al-Assad. I'm going to try and encourage a political resolution because there is no military solution in Syria, and there's no military solution in Saudi Arabia and Yemen or any of those places. There never was. But, she's propping up a dictator. Meanwhile, David Ignatius, who's basically works for the CIA and just pretends to be a Washington Post columnist, never heard a CIA talking point he never regurgitated in print. He's on there asking her questions. He cheerleaded for Iraq. He cheerleaded for Syria. He cheerleads for every war. Same thing with Morning Joe. They love war. Never challenged war. And they've been down with this new McCarthyism against Russia too. And trying to make Tulsi Gabbard and Glenn Greenwald and anybody who questions this escalation of with a nuclear power as puppets of Vladimir Putin. I mean, it's number one, it's dangerous what they're doing, and frankly, it's un-American. I wasn't around for McCarthyism, but this definitely is the new McCarthyism. And how does somebody like Tulsi Gabbard, who I can't get in her head, but I'm assuming she knows it's an uphill climb for her to get the Democratic nomination or become president, but she wants to get her ideas in a debate. But how do you even get your ideas? How do you even get on the debate stage if the media is, I just showed you, literally working to make it that people don't even know you're running, to cancel you out as a candidate? You're not featured in stories written on CNN. You're painted as an Assad apologist, or you're painted, as being propped up by Russia. What other plan do you have to deal with dictators, Jordan? What is the solution? Here's a plan. Stay the fuck out of it. That's the plan. Listen, if you have a situation like what happened in the 1930s and 40s with a dictator like Adolf Hitler, I think we should get involved. I think every country, every democratic country should come together, military or with military, to stop dictators and authoritarians that are doing something like that. Hopefully that never happens again in any of our lifetimes. But we cannot get involved with every single civil war across the globe. And by the way, most of these civil wars are caused by the United States, especially the ones in Latin America, because of our sanctions. Our sanctions are strangling most of these countries' economies. So you see at the border, all of these people fleeing Honduras and fleeing Latin American countries, they're fleeing because of what we've done to those countries. But the Democrats, with their talk of border security, well, you'd have a lot less people rushing the border, which, by the way, is all BS anyway. There's no crisis at the border. But you'd have a lot less people trying to run to our border if they weren't fleeing for their lives because of civil war in Honduras and other South American countries. It ain't complicated, folks. Not complicated. So, hey, part of this GoFundMe, frankly, and you're going to hear me mention it a lot because we're pushing our goal, get to 50,000. I want to cover Tulsi's campaign because her announcement wasn't even nationally televised. CNN didn't cover her announcement speech. MSNBC didn't cover it. As far as I know, it was not carried anywhere. So you ain't going to see any people. You ain't going to see media at a Tulsi Gabbard rally. I mean, you might see one or two from the Washington Post just trying to smear her, but you're not going to have reporters interviewing her voters to get their voices across. You're not going to have any microphones there to try and get a message of stopping regime change, stopping the military-industrial complex. You're not going to have that. I can guarantee you're not going to have that. So I would like to cover, in addition to Bernie's campaign, Tulsi's campaign. I'll cover some of Warren's campaign. Definitely want to challenge Kamala Harris voters. Definitely want to challenge Biden voters when he gets in. I think he's getting in soon. Cory Booker. Oh, I can't wait to challenge his voters. All these people, oh, the Democratic Party, Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, they're fighting for you. They're fighting for the little guy. They represent what America looks like. No, they represent oligarchy. They just happen to be black. Stop it. Represent what America looks like. GoFundMe. And one last time, before I say goodbye, it's not just GoFundMe, folks. Become a Status Coup member. That's how we're going to grow. Statuscoup.com/join. Statuscoup.com/join. There's the link. Klobuchar also might be announcing soon. Not exactly jumping for joy over Amy Klobuchar. Don't mean to be mean, Amy. Senator Klobuchar. But nothing there. Creative Experiments. Jordan, don't you get tired of questioning Donna Brazil types every day? No, actually, I live for that. Never get tired of that. That's fun for me, to tell you the truth. Anthony Reyes. Bernie is a living carcass. Now. Bernie's got more energy than I do. He's 76. I'm 32. I don't think he's a living carcass. Henry, I told him he should be interviewed on your show. Who are you talking about? Yesterday, I actually talked with a guy who worked in the Pentagon. Oh, well, if he works in the Pentagon, I'm pretty sure he doesn't want to be interviewed on my show. But tell him if he is willing to come and do an interview on my show, we will black out his face and distort the audio so nobody could tell who he is. Victoria, come to the Status Coup members only pillow party. Yes, please come. Even though I haven't been invited to my own pillow party, please come. And please become a member, as low as $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, or $147 a year. So, that's it, folks. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern Time. I'm working to line up guests, line up interviews. If you live in Ohio or Detroit, if you know people that have been laid off by General Motors, if you know workers that are affected in Detroit, Michigan, if you know activists in the area, definitely email me. Email Jordan at protonmail.com. That's email jordan@protonmail.com. Definitely looking for connections, looking for people to interview. A lot of times we go in there and we don't have a lot set up because I don't have the connections yet. So it's helpful when people connect us to other people. Damn, that's it, Jordan. Well, till next time. Damn, that's it. I've been going for an hour. And I got some other work to do. So, till next time, remember, most people in this country are not lacking compassion. Most people have no fucking idea what the hell's going on. And remember, folks, go fund me. Peace out.